Welcome back, one and all, to The Cave. I am joined by The Cave Boys. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back to The Cave. We are discussing, you'll never guess, we're discussing Zelda today, boys.
No way.
I thought it was a Switch 2 video, personally.
Yeah, no. It's, we're actually talking about a little indie game called Zelda. You might have heard of it.
Little underground series.
Yeah, it's, not many people have heard of it. But today, we're going to be discussing something slightly different. We're going to be talking about remakes. Zelda, is a series that is no stranger to the concept of remakes. So we're going to be discussing which games we think should get a remake, which games deserve the remake, and what we think might be the next remake. So, I'll kick things off. So, basically, I know that, because I feel like I know what the boys are going to say. I feel like both of them have the same bullet primed in each of their suitably resplendent chambers. But I'm going to start today by saying, boys, see what you think about this. Ocarina of Time.
Fair. I think very fair. I think Ocarina of Time 3D, as much as everybody loves to praise it, which at the time especially, it was a great remake, but...
I got you, Ed. I knew I'd get one of you to say it. The reason I picked Ocarina of Time is because some of you mouth breathers out there, like Edward, believe that Ocarina of Time 3D is a remake, when it is in fact a remaster. I caught you.
I caught you in my little snare, you see.
Now, I think this brings us, fittingly on to the subject of what is a remake and what is a remaster. For example, Link's Awakening for the Switch is a remake of the 1993 Link's Awakening for the Game Boy, because every part, from the coding to the engine to the music, has been from the ground up remade, making it, drumroll please, a remake. Who would have thought? Now, remasters are slightly different. Now, I believe the term remaster came from the music industry initially, because, rather than get an artist to completely re-record a song, you could instead take the original source recording, also known as the master recording, send that back through the mixing and mastering process, hence the name remaster, and there you go. I'm sure one of you boys is, you must have listened to a song on Spotify or whatever at some point that said, from like the 60s or 70s maybe, and it said the song title and then in brackets like 2005 remaster or another year like that.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
What that is doing is they have polished an older recording to better suit modern hardware. And that's exactly the same context, for video games as well. It is not remaking the game, it's taking the original code, polishing everything around it, that being the graphics and the interface, and making it more palatable for the current hardware. To return back to my original suggestion of Ocarina of Time 3D on the DS is a remaster. It has Ocarina of Time source code, and that can be proven in a few ways, most easily with, the fact that you can perform glitches from the original Ocarina of Time in Ocarina of Time 3D. Remake is completely remade from the ground up, and remaster is a polishing of the original product. What do you think of that, boys?
I think that was highly educational. I think you should be a teacher.
Yeah, so when I inevitably need to quit my job as a shit YouTuber, I will become a supply teacher. To go back to my original proposition, which is Ocarina of Time, and the reason I have picked that is because, now hold on to your tiny little nutsacks, boys, I believe that Ocarina of Time has had its honour compromised by Ocarina of Time 3D, because frankly, I think that the audacity of Nintendo to take what is arguably the best video game of all time, to take that and then hand it to a third party to not even remake it, but to remaster it, and then subsequently release that remaster on a handheld console that at the time was, I think, 7 years old. I think that is, that is so unbelievably insulting that I would have sooner slapped one of my grandparents than greenlit that idea. So, I think the next thing should be a from the ground up remake of Ocarina of Time, including a reorchestration so we can get a nice little vinyl LP out of it.
I like the idea. I mean, I think, especially like recently, I think the idea of an Ocarina of Time like remake that isn't 3D, because it isn't a remake, I think that's been thrown around a lot more, and especially because it's the earliest 3D Zelda game. plus the fact that we've now gone through all the remasters up until Breath of the Wild. I think a lot of people do want an Ocarina of Time to come back with a reorchestration and everything, because it's a good time for it. I mean, don't do it in the Unreal Engine way where everything looks hyper realistic and whatever, but it would be really cool to see enemies and like dungeons and stuff in this new way. I think Ocarina of Time 3D as a remaster did a lot of things really well, like, you know, like Iron Boots. Everyone hated Iron Boots.
A couple of quality of life improvements, yeah.
Exactly. Just doing what that game did, but then adding a new coat of paint and some new stuff as well. That'd be really cool. I think I like the idea of an Ocarina of Time one. It's weirder than I think a lot of the answers we're going to be given today, but I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
So Eddie, I would love to hear, what do you believe deserves the next Zelda remake?
My heart tells me to say one game. My brain says another.
He's thinking Twilight Princess.
He's thinking Twilight Princess.
My heart actually wants me to say Zelda 2.
Oh, okay. Very nice pick.
We've talked about this a little bit before. You've got some thoughts on it.
Yeah, Zelda 2, I think it was a side-scrolling game. It was a big experimental phase. It was the second game in the series. There's not really been anything like it apart from the side-scrolling sections in like Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom since. I think that there is a real market to try and remake Zelda 2. It could even be a 3D remake. They could do something really cool with that game. There's a lot of really cool things in Zelda 2 that you don't realise are cool because you're playing Zelda 2. Like,
I'd love to see how they go from the top down to the side scroller in 3D. Would you go kind of Link's Awakening style, I guess? I don't know. I like that.
Yeah, it is really cool. In fact, that game back at the time, it played like a lot of RPGs. I know a lot of people, like, they swear by Zelda 2. A hell of a lot of people hate Zelda 2. But then there are some people that swear on it. And I've never understood why.
I imagine, this is a complete theory now, I think you could probably draw a very strong correlation between Zelda 2 enjoyers and like enjoyers of the Soulsborne series, because you know I think they appeal to a gamer who likes a challenge just as much as the adventure of a Zelda game. Do you know? Because in my opinion, Zelda 2, I played every Zelda game. Zelda 2 is easily, I think, the most difficult.
Yeah, 100%.
It's tough.
You know what? It is the only Zelda game that I haven't finished. Actually, it is the only one. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
It's crazy. I've tried like 3 or 4 times using, like, you know how the rewind thing on an NSO? Still can't get anywhere near close. I got to the second dungeon. I'm bailing. I'm finished.
I like it. Zelda 2. I would absolutely love it, because to be able to, you know, because it would bring Zelda 2 discussion back into the mainstream in Zelda, because it just doesn't get talked about because not enough people have engaged with it. Not enough people care about it. I feel like it's, you know, it's a bit of an underdog. So I agree with you, Ed.
And more people seeing stuff about it. It'd be really cool to see how they could bring out the lore and stuff if they remade it.
Yeah.
Because back then, a lot of lore and details and just information was told to you through manuals and stuff like that. It wasn't very apparent. So it'd be really cool to bring that out into life as well.
I would love it.
Zelda 2, great pick, Ed. Absolutely great pick. So, Adam, let us know, what do you believe deserves the next Zelda remake?
Oh, boys, I've went with one of my favourite games. And no, it's not Twilight Princess. I will save you that one. The Minish Cap.
Oh, I knew you were going to say it. I was going to say it and be like, haha, you're going to say Minish Cap.
Yeah.
And I love that you've gone for remake and not remaster, because it doesn't need remastering, because the original was beautiful.
Definitely not.
And on emulator, you know, it still looks stunning. How do you think they'd reimagine Minish Cap then, if they did?
To be honest, I've always sort of envisioned it similar to how they remade Link's Awakening, and the same style that Echoes of Wisdom is in, because it's got that sort of toonish style to it.
Oh, imagine like a combo of like Link's Awakening mechanics, but Wind Waker art style.
Exactly. It would be so sick. And just playing that on the Switch, or even Switch 2 maybe, would be incredibly cool. Because Minish Cap is an incredible game.
Yeah.
It's one of those games where if you've never played it, it's one that's very much worth giving your time to. The story is incredible. It's one of the things I love about it is it has a boss that isn't Ganon or Ganondorf. That's one of the things I really love about the game. And people being able to experience that fighting Vati in a remake would be really awesome.
One of the harder final boss fights as well.
Oh, yeah,
it's
100%.
Even the lead up to that boss fight is tough. You have to go through like, I think it's like a double Dark Knot battle or something like that.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't even think of Minish Cap.
Oh, and the Kinstone fusing. I'm personally a really big fan of that. I think that would be really fun to do again.
Oh, the side questing to be done in that game is phenomenal.
Minish Cap's got the most potential. It's weird, you know, like a few years ago. Do you, Adam, especially you, do you remember the time when like a lot of Zelda tubers were calling it like the more underrated Zelda game, and then over time it's become like this behemoth that every single Zelda tuber is like, yeah, it's amazing.
The view I see on it in the public definitely was like a few years ago. I did hear a lot more people saying it's an underrated game, but nowadays you do hear people hold it up as high as like A Link to the Past in terms of the handheld games.
It's definitely the most common favorite 2D game these days, probably. One thing that a Minish Cap remake would really benefit from is a reorchestration, because
oh my god,
yeah.
yes.
Minish Cap has it has a really great soundtrack. I wouldn't say the best Zelda soundtrack, but definitely up there. But it is if you ever listen to it on any kind of hi-fi system, it's got a really harsh synth tone sound. It's got like, it uses a lot of saw waves, a lot of very harsh synth noises. And I would love to hear a slightly more smoothed off, well-rounded, like acoustic, orchestrated version of that soundtrack. Arrangement is fantastic, but the sound can be a little distorted and grating.
Yeah,
even
100%.
though it is. You guys know what I mean, right?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
I've noticed that when using the music in videos, actually, it does sometimes it's too harsh in the background even.
Again, boys, I'm really impressed with the picks.
Oh, it's some great picks.
For once, we've both avoided Twilight Princess.
I'd put money on you both saying Twilight Princess.
There is not a single, apart from Four Swords on NSO, there is not a single palatable multiplayer Zelda game on the Switch yet. Four Swords Adventures is like genuinely hard done by, because it was on the GameCube and you needed so much of this weird shit to actually play it. Four Swords Adventures is actually a really fun game. It just could do with a remake, especially without a multiplayer Zelda game and Triforce Heroes being as bad as it was. I'll be honest.
I'll tell you what, though, Ed.
Yeah.
Like, let me know what you think of this. This might be a hot take, I'm not sure. For me, like, multiplayer Zelda game is a bit of an oxymoron, because personally I see Zelda as, and yes, maybe you could accuse me of, like, thinking too small or limiting the series, but I see it as a single player experience. That single person lost in, like, this big esoteric world. I loved getting lost by myself in a Zelda game. And to assume that, like, a Zelda fan has not only one, but 4 friends is just ridiculous. I mean, come on.
It couldn't be me.
We couldn't even play it with our podcast, for goodness sake. So,
my retort to that is just that there was once a time, especially when they came out with Triforce Heroes, where they were adhering to some sort of crowd that wanted a multiplayer Zelda game, and now they're kind of not. And to be fair, none of those games have sold very well, if we're being completely honest. I think Four Swords maybe sold pretty decent. Now that I'm thinking about it, Triforce Heroes probably sold the best out of all 3 of them, which is really sad. Because so many people had a 3DS. I mean,
we could play that one on the podcast at least.
Yeah, that's mine though. Phantom Hourglass, Adam.
It's one of those games where I feel like there's a side of fans that like it, and there's a side of fans that really don't like it.
I think the stylus plays a big part in that.
But I think the age you played that game at for the first time definitely has a role.
Yes.
Because for me personally, I must have played that game in, I don't know, maybe pre-teens or teens or something like that. It was a very engaging game for the age I was at. Actually, no, I must have been younger, actually. That game came out a while ago. But it was a very engaging game.
Phantom Hourglass was 2007.
Okay, yeah, I would have been younger than that, I think. It's much more enjoyable as a kid, is basically what I'm trying to say. I feel like if you try to play Phantom Hourglass as an adult, you're not going to be as into the gimmick of the stylus and blowing into the microphone for puzzles. It's not as cool.
Question for you, Adam.
Yes.
Spirit Tracks. Do you also lump that in there?
Yeah, I would release them together, to be honest, because they are the sort of game that goes together. It's like the Oracle games, almost.
I'd argue that they're more fitting. I think that those 2 games are more fitting to be put together than the Oracle games, because the Oracle games, I think, they take part in, like, parallel universes, whereas Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks is a direct continuation from the same story.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's a direct sequel, yeah.
One last honourable mention, just before we wrap this video up, is the only game that's not, other than actually maybe Zelda 2, to be honest, the game that's not really been touched after the fact is the very first Zelda game.
I was going to mention that, yeah.
Sure, that could do with some remaking.
They'll do it one day.
Maybe they're waiting for a big anniversary.
Well, talking of a big anniversary, boys, I believe, am I right in saying, I think next year is 40 years of Zelda?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, because 2021 was 35.
Eddie, to add to your theory about they were actually working on a whole nother Zelda game in the background.
Yeah,
You never know.
I mean, for 40 years of Zelda, what better way to celebrate the 40th anniversary than new mainline Zelda game for the new Switch?
Yeah. You know what? I need to add that to my video. I need to add that to the video.
I might be coping. They've got to do something right for the anniversary, surely.
Boys, let's be real here. They're gonna release a Zelda toaster or some crappy gimmick. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But guys, we mustn't discuss this. This is for another video.
Yeah. Of course. But there we go, boys. We have discussed what we believe should get a Zelda remake. What do you guys at home think should be the next Zelda remake or remaster? Let us know down in the comments. Once again, thank you for joining us here in the cave. And we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Oh, we love each and every one of you, apart from the Hyrule Warriors fans. We love you. Goodbye.